taking up House Bill 58. Unintended, we're going to focus on it a little bit today on speed cameras. And so what we're going to do is there are as many as 7 possible amendments to the bill. All of those 7 have been considered by the subcommittee on public safety. Delegate Cardin is the chair of that subcommittee. I'm going to move through them one by one. I'm going to name them. We will take some questions and comments, but I encourage you to keep your comments short, no big personal stories or preambles. Please, if you want to make a comment on it, we're happy to hear it. We will try to vote on each of these amendments and possibly vote on the bill once we have decided how to amend it. With that, the first amendment we'll take up is amendment that has been before us. It is the sponsor amendment. It has to do with the process of deciding where they are. And Delegate Cardin, Chair Cardin, I will let you go a little further with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And by the way, thank you for allowing our subcommittee to meet in your wonderful, luxurious office with your conference room. And we appreciate
it's all of ours. It is the Baltimore County delegation.
And the fact that you had it sponsored by and catered by Ruth Chris, I'm assuming you're going to do that for all the subcommittees.
Yes.
Future, right?
Well, depending on how they behave, there you go.
Thank you. Okay. So the First Amendment that was brought up on the speed camera passed unanimously out of the subcommittee, and it was, I would call it technical. We believe, the county believes that this was spurious language that when taken out clarifies that the county gives the authority to the police department or whomever is organizing, or in this case, it's the police department organizes where the speed cameras are, and they make a decision. It's not determined by a specific county councilman or by the county council. It's determined by the operators of the speed cameras, and that's what this language does. And if I can just add, the authority is given by the council and by the executive, but the authority to place speed cameras, the placement is done by the staff of the organization that's running the operation.
Does the subcommittee have a motion on this amendment?
Mr. Chair, I move favorably on the amendment.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. All right. At the risk of having some objections, I'm going to do a voice vote on all of these amendments as we go. It takes an extra minute, but I think in the interest of clarity here, is there any more comment or questions about the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to start from the bottom up just for fun. So we'll first go to Vice Chair Jackson on the favorable motion on this amendment.
Yes.
Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
Delegate Stein. Excused. Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Speaker Jones I believe is excused. Wait a second to make sure. She's actually conducting session. Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Bandari.
Yes.
Delegate Allen.
Yes.
And so we have a quorum and a majority of the quorum for this amendment. We're going to ask that this amendment be placed on the bill. Thank you for that. Second amendment, we've taken the 3 amendments that were suggested by Delegate Phillips and the subcommittee and broken them into parts. The first one has to do with the use of the funds that would be realized from this new program only. Chair Cardin, do you want to go into some more detail?
Mr. Chair. Again, this amendment, so just for process, for everybody to understand, if you have a copy of the amendments, I believe, Charity, that they are all on one document. However, we've separated them into 3 amendments that we're going to be describing. Is that correct, Charity?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure so everybody, if, in case people are confused. This first amendment proposed by Delegate Phillips passed unanimously out of the subcommittee, and what it does is it says that any additional money that comes in because of this program, not the money that's coming in presently, but any additional money that might come in from additional speed cameras in residential areas, as opposed to, this doesn't include additional cameras in education or school areas, only additional cameras that might come in residential areas, is going to be earmarked or goes into a fund for traffic calming devices. It can go anywhere in the county. It doesn't have to go to a specific camera location neighborhood. That's what the amendment does. Mr. Delegate Phillips, am I correct on that?
That is correct. And I would move favorably on the amendment.
Thank you. Is there a second on the favorable motion on the amendment?
Second.
I have a second. All right. Is there any further discussion or questions about the amendment? Delegate Mangione.
Thanks, Chair. Real quick, traffic calming devices, is that considered just a device or a construction of median lanes and stuff like that?
Great question. Speed bumps, median lanes, anything that can be used. They certainly, I mean, would be our belief and understanding that it would not be used for additional cameras, because the cameras are self-funding. They pay for themselves. This would be additional money coming in because the cameras generating revenue, and they can be used by the county to give a community the bumps or humps or whatever they need.
And
And
Mr.
just for
Sippel,
clarity-
if you can, and for clarification,
Okay,
Go
thank
ahead.
you.
Delegate Phillips, for clarity.
I
you
was
want
going
to
to say
clarify
for
something?
clarification, I believe it actually reads, shall be used solely to assist in covering the cost of sitting, constructing, installing, and maintaining traffic calming devices in Baltimore County.
Great. And this is only the money from these additional cameras,
Right.
not, it doesn't repurpose the money from the existing cameras at school
Correct.
zones, right? Okay. Any other questions on the bill, on the amendment? Seeing none, let's take a voice vote. I'm going to start from the top down this time. Vice Chair Jackson,
Yes.
Delegate Allen,
Yes.
Delegate Bendari,
Yes.
Delegate Carden,
Yes.
Forbes, Delegate Forbes,
Yes.
Delegate Grammer,
Sorry, yes.
Delegate Guyton,
Yes.
Delegate Jones. Delegate Jones. Just reading names. Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Long,
Yes.
Delegate Mangione,
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill,
Yes.
Delegate Metzger,
Yes.
Delegate Naraki,
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur,
Yes.
Delegate Phillips,
Yes.
Delegate Ruth,
Yes.
Delegate, let's go Speaker Pro Tem Stein. I think he's also excused in doing some work with session. Delegate Shalega
Yes.
and Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Normally, Madam Secretary, I would go to you, but since everybody said yes, I'm going to, without an exact count, will be recorded. This amendment is adopted and will be sent forward. We have a majority of the quorum present. Next amendment is amendment that has to do with the business of a study. I think we have a slight additional phrase for this one. Chair Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, this passed unanimously with the slight change in language. And Charity, I think you'll help me make sure I get this right. We're changing the impact study on drivers to owners, because we don't necessarily know who the drivers are. We know who the owners are because it's done through the registration of the car. And we're adding the locations. Am I correct in that? We're adding also locations of the placement of them as part of the study, and not just this disparity in terms of the tickets that are issued to owners, but also whether there's any kind of interesting data that we can glean from where the locations are of the placement of the cameras.
That is correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because we've been communicating with the NBA, we're not sure if our particular agency can get some of that information. We added a 2-word phrase prior to it, did we not?
Yes, to the extent practicable that this data is collectible.
Okay.
And there's nothing, and just, I mean, in case somebody's going to ask a question, there's nothing dispositive that if we get information that this program will be terminated, it's just the gathering of the information to see, and then being able to possibly use that information to make determinations as to, what's happening. It's really just gathering of information, and that's what this amendment does.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Naraki, I see your hand up with a question. Well, first let's take a motion. Do we have a motion on this amendment from the subcommittee?
I would move for the acceptance of the motion.
Favorable. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
so we have a motion before us. Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just had a question for Delegate Phillips. Delegate Phillips, I'm aware of some studies done by an organization called the Fines and Fees Justice Center. They've done some really great work around the country. They've done a study in Washington, D.C., where they looked at the placement of traffic calming devices, specifically speed cameras. And they reported that in Washington, D.C., that African-American and minority neighborhoods were 17 times more likely to receive a speed camera violation than in white neighborhoods. There was a similar study as well in Chicago that was reported by PBS. Just a question, isn't that so about these studies, Delegate Phillips?
It is so. And
Thank you,
I am
Delegate.
familiar, as you know, I am familiar with those studies as well. And that is one of the reasons why I think it's important that we take a look at what the impact of these fees and fines are on some of our populations, right? Socioeconomically disadvantaged populations in our communities. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Delegate Phillips.
Thank you, Delegate Naraki. Okay, is there any other comments or questions about this amendment? Seeing none, we're going to take a voice vote on this. Start from the bottom up this time, and we'll start with Vice Chair Jackson on the amendment, the favorable motion.
Yes.
Delegate White Holland,
Yes.
Delegate Shalega,
Yes.
Delegate Stein is excused. Delegate Ruth,
Yes.
Delegate Phillips,
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur,
Yes.
Delegate Naraki,
Yes.
Delegate Metzger,
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill,
Yes.
Delegate Mangione,
Yes.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Guyton,
Yes.
Delegate Grammer,
Yes.
Delegate Forbes,
Yes.
Delegate Cardin,
Yes.
Delegate Bendari,
Yes.
and Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Okay, again, Madam Secretary, we have no votes, so we're going to say this carries the majority of the quorum present. We will send this amendment and we'll make sure it gets written up as we have described it and also sent on to the committee for consideration to be added. Okay, next amendment. This is an amendment that is on the third part of the amendment we saw last week. That amendment originally placed a sunset of 3 years on the bill. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is on page 5 of 5 on the of the amendment. We did, just to make clear, we passed this amendment unanimously. We then spoke with the county that apologized that they did not get back to us timely to say that that this would be detrimental to the ability for them to carry out this policy, nearly impossible, because it's going to could take as long as 2 years to get things running, to get everything passed and moving. And it could be 2.5 years or more and before the cameras are placed, which means that they don't want to invest that kind of time and energy if it could be sunsetted. I spoke a little bit with Delegate Phillips after the fact. I believe he's going to make a motion to change that sunset to 10 years. And we spoke with the county. The county can live with that. Of course, they prefer none, but from public policy perspective, there are reasons why there should be a review. We can always lift the sunset after 10 years. With all those, I'm hoping, God forbid, I will still be here in 10 years debating this bill, but maybe we will all be here. Who knows? So Delegate Phillips, do you have a proposal to amend the amendment?
So to that point, Mr. Chair, I am requesting an amendment to the amendment to increase and to move the sunset date to 10 years versus 3.
So the amendment before us is to actually set a sunset of 10 years on this program. If I have it correct, do I have a motion on that amendment?
Second.
Yeah, I didn't hear the original.
I think that was my motion. My motion is to move it to 10
Thank
years.
you. Delegate Phillips moves favorable, and the subcommittee chair seconds it. It's before us. Comments or questions? Delegate Schlegel, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Why not 5 years? Did you all discuss that? I mean, 10 is a long time. If they say it's going to take a couple years to get the program up and running, and then, we have a lot of constituent outcry, or, even positive or negative, coming back in 5 years, I think could give us a little quicker look at it, but not so long as 10 years. And obviously, we can come back in 5 years and extend it again. But I was just wondering why 10 and not something a little shorter than that.
So Chair Cardin, you can take that, or we could, if you choose, you could ask Jenny Osa from County to speak on that.
I'm happy to let Ms. Aosa speak. I think she can be as articulate as I can. If I can just preempt with the following, that the county is going to invest some time and energy and money. And while we know that we can easily lift a sunset, that's not the way that the county necessarily looks at it. They look at it as presuming that the presumption is that it's going to end. And the question is, do we invest the time and money in saving people's lives here if we can use that money and time for other things? And I think that the answer is, let's figure out a way that everybody can live with it. And that would be my response. So, Ms. Aosa?
Jenny Osa, would you like to weigh in briefly for us?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the subcommittee chair put it very nicely.
Okay, thank you. And the motion is for the 10. So the only way to change that at this point would be to vote this one down and remove it as a new number. Delegate Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In light of the previous amendment that we just adopted, and in light of the discussion that we just had about significant disparities in enforcement around the country with these types of devices, I think 10 years is a very long time. I would support a different time frame than 3 years, but maybe something like 5 that Delegate Schlegel is talking about. But we could have some people's lives that are significantly affected inside of that 10-year window, unnecessarily so. And I just think the 10 years is too long of a time period.
Thank you. Delegate Grammer.
Thank you. Can someone answer for me, how long does it actually take to get a camera in place? I remember it being weeks or months. Maybe the county can chime in on how long it actually takes to implement a camera.
Jenny, Ms. Aosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So under this bill, we are, as the county, are being asked to set up essentially an additional program. This will be different because we will have to develop proposed regulations on how these additional sites may be selected, what criteria would be used. We have to then submit those regulations to the council for the council's approval of the expansion program. So it is not about selecting a site. It is about developing the program, getting approval for that program, and then developing sites executing the safety studies that police currently use, and then installing the cameras.
And that process for the camera itself, how long does that take?
I would really have to ask the police department. Right now, they have a list of sites where they can deploy cameras within school zones. And I'm happy to ask our police department that.
Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I just, in response to the question about 5 years, I worry that if it's that short a sunset, even though that gives them time to deploy the cameras, the county is not going to want to invest money in anything that may go away in 5 years. So I really think we need a longer period, or otherwise this bill may not even have effect because the county would be really reluctant to invest any money. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Long.
Thank you. I'm trying to make sure that I understand this. First, there was a unanimous amendment that would sunset this in 3 years. Am I correct?
We never voted on that amendment, sir.
Okay, but I'm saying that it come out of subcommittee. It was unanimous. Am I correct?
I don't know that they voted. Maybe they voted on the entire amendment when we took it apart. That they unanimously moved to have it be 3 years. Yes, they reconvened and moved it to 10 years. Changed that.
We were waiting. We did say that everything was presumptive of the support of the county, and then we got, after the fact, the county suggested, without realizing that we were debating that amendment, did not have the opportunity before we debated it to chime in and tell us the problems with it. And I will tell you that a lot of the support from many people was dependent on the county's understanding and ascension in being able to carry out the program. So that was important to us.
Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you. The question I had is then, if originally it was 3 years and the county is worried that in 3 years that the sunset would not be extended, that questions me why they would be questioning the 3 years, considering that we want this program run in a manner that's going to promote safety and just to make sure that there's the system is in place and running well.
So it's important to note that this I think the sponsor would say this is enabling legislation. And so if we put it at 3 years, the county has indicated that they probably wouldn't start the program. Okay, so we're at a point where if we want this, we want the county to feel like they can do it. We have to give them enough time to have it play out a little bit for them. And that's, I believe, Mr. Chair, Chair Cardin, I think that's a pretty good description. I was at the meeting as well. So, okay, thank you. Delegate Mangione.
I wasn't finished.
Delegate Long, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I heard that the fund from Baltimore County, when this bill was first produced and given to us, I thought there was mention that the company that was going to install the speed cameras was also going to pay for them and wouldn't cost the county any money. And I'm just kind of trying to wrap my head around why now the county is worried about spending funds that was never mentioned before. Thank you.
All right. I have a flag up for Jenny also would like to weigh in briefly, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to
I think she's frozen.
No, I have her.
Can you all hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I wanted to make 2 quick points. One, with regard to the sunset, Baltimore County has absolutely no problem with collecting data and having that data about the program at any time during the course of the program. We believe in adaptive management, and we are we're happy for the amendment that adds in the study, the evaluation of impacts, etc. We believe that that's the important part, and that once data is collected, you all can make an informed decision about continuing or extinguishing the program.
Thank you.
With regard to the cost question that I believe I just heard.
Yes, but I'm going to say that I don't think this amendment is on cost necessarily.
Yes.
I think it's really on feasibility of the program if we put a three-year sunset on it. And you've stated it's not really cost that's your issue. It's more the effort of putting it together with the idea that it would disappear.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Mangione.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And you almost answered my question, but I don't want to go too far off topic. But I guess very simple. For the 10 years, is there a county? You don't have to name the cost, but if it doesn't sunset until 10 years from now, is there a yearly cost for this program? And I guess I can ask why it's not implemented in the same program before we vote. So it will be a 10-year annual commitment to this for every year that doesn't sunset, correct, Ms. Iosa? Or am I wrong? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Delegate. So the costs to the county are largely the upfront costs of establishing the program. Once the program is up and running, revenue from any tickets that may be issued go to sustain the program and eventually pay for the upfront capital costs that the county had to make.
Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to interrupt. I appreciate the questions about where the funding and how the funding works. Again, I believe this amendment is about the feasibility of the program in a short term as opposed to long term.
Yep, I understand that.
I think we're going to stick to the amendment here. Delegate Bhandari, with some alacrity, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that revisiting and potentially shortening this time frame could significantly enhance this effectiveness and relevance. And also a more condensed timeline could also increase engagement and support, to see a tangible progress. I also believe that 10 years is too long period to achieve our desired outcome.
Okay, thank you. On the amendment, no further questions or comments. Let's see, which direction do we go? We're going to go top down. We have a favorable motion on this amendment for a 10-year sunset on the bill. Vice Chair Jackson.
Yes.
Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
No.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Long.
No.
Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger.
No.
Delegate Naraki.
No.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
You have to unmute.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Speaker Pro Tem Stein is excused. Delegate Shalega.
No.
Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
And the speaker vote and the chair votes yes. A real quick count, please, from my recording secretary, and we'll see if we concur.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 12 yeses.
12 of 18 is a majority of the quorum present for a amendment. The delegation adopts the amendment to the bill. Next amendment is an amendment put forward by Delegate Naraki. Generally, it has to do with checking addresses before tickets are mailed out. I'll let the chair of the subcommittee elaborate if he feels he needs to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll only say that it passed unanimously out of the subcommittee, and basically it requires the entity that's issuing the tickets to verify that the registration is not stolen before they send the ticket to the offender.
I'm going to catch you on that. I think that's Delegate Shalega's. That's next. I believe Delegate Naraki's was more about verifying addresses. Is that correct, Delegate? I see your hand
Oh, I
up.
apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and Mr. Chair, also Subcommittee Chair.
Chair and chair.
Yeah, Chair and Chair. My amendment was to require the issuing agency, whether that's the vendor or the police department, to check with the MVA about the most current mailing address and most current owner of a vehicle to make sure that we're sending it to the fine to the right place.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Is there, do we have a motion from the subcommittee on the bill, on the amendment?
Move favorably on the.
motion.
And a
amendment.
second, I heard. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this amendment? All right. Delegate Long.
Did I hear that they were supposed to verify whether the vehicle was stolen or not? Is that
No,
the
sir.
amendment?
That's
That
the
was
next,
the wrong,
no, sir, that's the next
wrong
amendment
amendment.
coming.
Apologize.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, I'm trying to pay attention. Thank you.
That's the next amendment comment. Delegate White Holland.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question. I'm wondering, how does this compare with what is already done as it relates to the current practice?
It's a great question.
And what, if anything, would be different than what is being done now?
Thank you. Ms. Ayuso, do you have any insight on that for us?
No, I do not, but
Okay.
I'm happy to ask the police.
And since we have the maker of the amendment there, he apparently would like to weigh in with information on that.
Sure. There is actually also a departmental bill that's going to apply to the entire state, delegate, to do this from the MVA. Currently, this is not codified into law. There have been instances, at least in our district, where fines were mailed to wrong addresses, old addresses, things like that. So this just hopefully helps minimize some of that confusion there. Hopefully we pass the bill as well that applies to the whole state. But this would, of course, if that doesn't happen, would at least guarantee that in Baltimore County, we're at least doing a cursory glance to make sure that we're mailing it to the right place.
Placing Baltimore County on the vanguard. Delegate White Holland, I see your hand still up. Do you have further question or did you just, okay, there we go.
I just had a follow-up, but
Please.
I understand in the sake of time. So if this is regarding, again, would be providing, again, additional authority for the county to place outside of these school zones, would this essentially only be applicable to those or
That's a great
other,
question.
or the other cameras that are in place? I'm just trying to understand how it would.
Great question. And that was the intent, and the way it was drafted is it's for the entire speed camera program. So it does apply to everything. And again, it will become moot if we pass it statewide. And if not, Baltimore can be a model perhaps for the rest of the state in the years to come.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, further comment or questions? Okay, we have the amendment has been moved and seconded. I'm going to take a vote here. Vice Chair Jackson.
Mr. Chair, this was moved as favorable, right?
Yes, we have a favorable motion on it. Yes, we do.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
Speaker Pro Tem Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Bendari.
Yes.
And Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we had all positive votes, so we have a majority of the quorum. That amendment carries. Next amendment is an amendment introduced by Delegate Shalega, which is similar but not the same. That says that it has to do with them checking for stolen vehicles or stolen plates. Chair Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize I mixed these two up because they were both such good amendments, Delegate Naraki. So the the subcommittee voted unanimously in favor of this amendment. We should check to make sure that the plates are not stolen, or the car is not stolen and the plates reported stolen before a citation offense is mailed to the owner.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the amendment? Do we have a motion? Sorry, first, do we have a motion on the amendment?
Move favorably.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Delegate White Holland, I saw a hand and now I don't. Okay, thank you. All right, are there no questions on this amendment? We will take a voice vote on this, and we'll start with the vice chair, please.
Yes.
And Delegate Allen,
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari,
Yes.
Delegate Forbes,
Yes.
Delegate Grammer,
Yes.
Delegate Guyton,
Yes.
Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Long,
Yes.
Delegate Mangione,
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill,
Yes.
Delegate Metzger,
Yes.
Naraki, Delegate Naraki,
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur,
Yes.
Delegate Phillips,
Yes.
Delegate Ruth,
Yes.
Delegate Stein,
Yes.
Delegate Shalega,
Yes.
Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we have all positive votes.
Chair Eversol, you skipped Delegate Cardin.
I did skip Delegate. I couldn't figure out. I had a space there. Delegate Cardin.
I didn't even notice it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have the quorum is unanimous, so we have a majority of the quorum. This amendment is adopted. Now it's 10:48, and we are going to quit at 10:59 because people have places to go. And so we may get to the vote on the actual bill today, or we may not. We have one more amendment to consider. This is an amendment introduced by Delegate Grammer, was also considered by the subcommittee. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee did consider this, and for the record, it did not make a favorable recommendation. This, we think, with good intention, we just didn't think that this amendment was appropriate for the bill. What it did is required a maintenance of essentially a maintenance of effort of funding for calming devices, so that if you have 1 year, for example, the first year, let's say you raise $10,000 that goes into calming devices as per the Second Amendment that we discussed earlier this meeting, you would have to maintain that $10,000 even if the following year you only got $2,000 of revenue for traffic calming devices. We were worried that this would put a burden on the county to do, what if you 1 year, like there's a COVID year where there's tons and tons of traffic violations, the next year is post-COVID, there's not, and you raise 50 grand, you'd have to maintain that 50 grand for traffic calming devices, which would be great for our communities, but not necessarily good for the budgeting predictions for the county. So we did not move favorable on this as a subcommittee.
Do you want to make so the subcommittee makes?
I would make a
unfavorable?
motion. I would make I guess an unfavorable motion.
That's correct. A motion for an unfavorable report on this one. Do I have a second on the unfavorable? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. I'd like to let the county weigh in on this, and then we'll go to the maker of the amendment.
We really don't have a position one way or the other.
Thank you very much. Delegate Grammer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So a special person in this delegation suggested that I change the amendment to only apply to the new speed cameras. And I have requested that amendment from Charity. So with that in mind, that seemed to be the bigger concern. There's a much bigger pot of money for the speed cameras currently in place. And if we only applied this to the new speed cameras, that would be a much smaller dollar amount. And here is the problem. When the county first expanded the program beyond the initial 15 test cameras, the first one was put on Mace Avenue in my community. That was 12 years ago, and our only traffic calming request on Riverside Road has not been provided by the county for 12 years. In 2022, we were actually approved for the speed bumps on Riverside Road. We still do not have speed bumps. So what this is, the underlying problem, and I think Delegate Phillips' amendment addresses part of this in sending these dollars to traffic calming devices. The underlying problem is, as a matter of budgeting, the county can just supplant the dollars that it has with the new funds coming in. So we have this big county-wide need, and we don't, even if we expand the program, we're not really guaranteeing that, you know, people in your community or your district are going to have any further access to traffic calming devices. So what the amendment essentially does is for, as suggested to me by a special member of this delegation, I've changed it to apply only to the new cameras. So I guess I would, if the delegation is willing, I would suggest that we consider amending the amendment.
It's tricky. I guess we could try that. I believe the general objection, the reason it's unfavorable is because in the subcommittee, it was discussed that we were actually inserting ourselves into county budget affairs here and tying their hands, whether or not we did it for all the cameras or some. So I think right now we need to vote on that concept in general, and we do have a motion before us. Delegate Metzger.
Yes, the question you almost answered, but I would press this issue. I'm a little concerned that we're talking 1 minute about extending this for a 10-year sunset, but yet at the same time, we're not wanting to take a look at a capital revenue, bringing it into a study where you can find out exactly where the money's going. And I concur with my colleague, Delegate Grammer, that we in our area have asked for calming devices since we've been in office and even prior to that. And we're not getting any of that. So my thing is, I think we need to press this issue.
The amendment doesn't guarantee that it would be placed in certain places.
Well, we're not saying that. We're
just commits the money to a special fund, which would have to be a maintenance of effort.
And I agree with that, and I understand that, but I'm pressing the delegates' issue.
Okay, thank you. One last comment, Delegate Naraki.
Mr. Chair, one point of clarification. I do have one question. Mr. Chair, didn't we just do that with Delegate Phillips' amendment? Didn't we just do exactly what Delegate Grammer is asking here? Didn't we change it in that same way?
Not exactly, but I'll let the chair weigh in on this.
Yeah.
Or Delegate Phillips, either one.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Originally, so we reviewed it, and I asked, before we made a motion, I asked Delegate Phillips whether he was going to change his amendment. So we've already have the amendment up with a unfavorable. We can vote, we can do what we want. I mean, I don't care. I know that this is Mr. Chair.
So I will simply say that I think that the amendment from Delegate Phillips about directing the money did some of this. Delegate Grammer's amendment goes a step further and calls for maintenance of effort. My comment would be is if 1 year we made $10,000 on this and the next year we made $2 million, the county would be on the hook to spend $8,000 out of some other budget line item. Ms. Ayosa.
Yes, please forgive me. I just reread the amendment, and we don't see a need for this. If the cameras work and we're reducing speeding, isn't that a good thing?
Okay, I think I'm going to call the question.
Mr. Chair, that wasn't my question, though, Mr. Chair. I was asking, didn't we just allow Delegate Phillips to change the period on the sunset from 3 years to 10 in a similar way to what Delegate Grammer is asking to change his amendment to here? Wasn't that exactly what we just did there?
That's not accurate.
In terms of process, we did not have a motion on the floor, Mr. Chair, before he did that.
The subcommittee took up the issue of the amendment going to 10 years. And the subcommittee was empowered to move favorable.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry. You have to let me finish here. The subcommittee also took up Delegate Grammer's amendment as it is and moved unfavorable on it. He has since submitted something else, but that has not been taken up by the subcommittee. And before us, we have his original amendment. And so I'm going to call a vote on this. Okay. I think we all know how we're going to vote. So let's move forward on this. So the motion is unfavorable. If you say yes, you're moving against this amendment. Let's clarify that. If you say yes, you're moving against this amendment. All right. So Vice Chair Jackson,
Yes.
Delegate White, Holland, sorry, Delegate.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
No.
Okay, against the unfavorable. Speaker Pro Tem Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
No.
Delegate Metzger.
No.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate Long. No vote. Speaker Jones.
No.
Thank you. Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
No.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Bendari.
Yes.
Delegate Allen.
Yes.
And chair votes yes also. Give me a quick count there, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, we're counting votes. Thank you.
I understand you didn't count my vote.
I did.
Yes.
Was it no?
I heard your vote and I counted it.
13.
Oh,
13. Yes, I have your
Hey.
vote. Delegate Long.
Thank you. And 13 out of
Thank
19
you.
present is a majority of the quorum. Therefore, the delegation does not approve this amendment. We're at 10:58. This bill is still before us. I think it's too fast for us to take a vote on the bill today. And we will bring this bill up as the first order of business in voting, will be to move on this bill. Please, if you're bringing an amendment, make it something that is meaningful and that you get it to the subcommittee so they can look at it if it's relevant. I'm sorry we didn't get to the vote today, but it's 10:59 and people have plenty